We're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back.
Ladies and gentlemen, roosters and hens, and everything else in between, Caulk Talk is back, and I can't hear the rooster sounder, so that's why there was a little delay there. But
Cock-a-doodle.
as always, from the Coop Collective,
quieter.
I am Tyler at MBF Express. We have Josh at Grateful Coops, Blake at Wada Wada Racing, Dave at Pecking Order Racing. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Good.
All right.
Well, we're here.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Only 22 minutes late this week, so that's like
fine.
half as
Hey,
that's early. Half as bad
That's
as
like
last week.
8
Actually,
minutes
early.
late.
It's early. At this point, this is early.
Yeah, we're working it out, and we're still using piece by piece to get this going, but here we are. We're back. We have plenty to get into, that's for sure. The dev blog is chock full of information to run off. We had some drama go down this week. Awesome. Really love when there's drama in the main chat. That makes me feel good.
Not Andromeda, but drama, right?
Yeah, Andromeda.
Okay.
She sucks too. All my birds suck
Okay.
right now. I've gotten one win in the last 28 races. I am sour. I am really sour right now, and these are not like 60-cent races. A lot of these were like my 100 dork in A decided he doesn't want to be good in A. So I've been happy. So
But
anyway.
cold streaks don't exist, so
but
just keep sending
mathematically, I know, but I think I forget who said that. I think
you can't even win when everybody's trying to down class, huh?
I know
No.
these tournaments. I should know better than to enter these those races that I'm really hard on in like the $15, $20 range when these tournaments are going on, because they make a mess of all of this data. They really do.
Yeah.
I mean, new birds, all these English mustards that are racing just nonstop. It changes everything, which is really why I think the new seasons is going to completely turn this data on its head. But we'll get to that in a minute. But
it'll take a little bit, but I think we'll get there. Turning data on the head, anyways. It might be a little hairy for a little while, but it'll shake itself out, I feel, over time. We'll see.
I think it'll be for the better. I mean, I'm on board with that. I mean, we have to see it happen first before we really make any type of major take on it. But I do think that we're going to see some different birds racing each other a lot, and then the same birds racing each other a lot once the actual seasons get locked in, and we might discover some brand new things about these birds. But yeah, let's go ahead and fire off right into this dev blog, because we have a lot to get into, and
as always,
I don't want to get too off course. So I know we have more than a few things to touch on here.
So this is, after a year and change doing this, this is by far my favorite introduction of the dev blog. Blog. Thank you.
What do I type here? I don't know. Just
blog.
Blog.
Anyways, Marketplace, we launched on Monday, and it's gotten off to a great start. The first trade happened within about an hour, and they've seen about 49 trades. That was as of Friday. 201 chickens. I believe the number was up to... correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like 500 last time, or 300 chickens listed on the new Marketplace. So... You get if you're bored, thumb through that and check it out. I know there's some rewards going on for getting in and using the Marketplace, I believe. I thought there was something. I'll have to keep reading here, but
yeah, there's some prize draws.
Yeah, there have been many requests for additional features and updates, and we do have the following planned. Display owner name on Marketplace page. Search by chicken name, owner name, list multiple chickens at once, and notification system. Oops, on the wrong page here. They also have a competition in place. At some point this month, they'll randomly choose 10 listed chickens. 9 of them will win their owner a wearable, and the 10th will get this 91 jetpack. You bet. It's a good looking bird.
Little something.
Yeah, nothing crazy. So, list your chickens to be within a chance to win. The draw can happen at any time. You don't have to list the bird for floor. I think Tyler listed a chicken for... What the hell was that?
10th.
10th.
69 E's.
Yeah.
I have one that's actually listed to sell, and then I was like, what if it sells? And I don't know the right timing, so I just listed cocked with a lowercase
Perfect.
c. Very frustrating.
Yes.
For 10 ETH, I think it's worth it. Plus, I'm trying to lure out Alrad. He wants all those cock names. I'm on to you.
Yeah,
He wants them.
he's got a collection.
If you want it, you got to pay.
So list your chickens getting a chance to win. That can happen. The draw can happen at any time. The Cut the Mustard event has been underway. Great start as of Friday. 741 races on the first day, the second highest volume in a single day to date. They were astounded by the number of English mustard chickens that people were racing, meaning many users achieved the 40-point goal very quickly and have long surpassed it. If you're yet to take part, then you can find all the rules here. This is a link in the development channel and Chicken Derby Discord. And these are the wearables that you have a chance to win if you hit the, I believe it's 40-point goal. Yes. And yeah, some very English-looking things. I kind of want the master attire. I like that. Little top hat. Very dapper.
40 points needed, but if you pop in and look at the top scores, aforementioned Alriad has had a fun time. He's got two different birds at 863
This
points.
fool straight came into the
Yeah.
chicken coop chat and said, "Hey, is there any chance that maybe we could do something for like the top 10 in points?" And it's like he's got like 8 of the top 10 birds.
He pulled the raw dog in.
Oh man!
It wasn't even subtle.
Like,
Hey,
come on,
you know
bro.
what? It can't hurt to ask, but because he has absolutely obliterated this with the and see cock rocket number 2, 863. See what I mean?
Yeah. So
He's got a thing for those birds.
The Halloween hunt prizes have been pushed off, not for too long though, due to the launch of the marketplace and the need to fast-track development of a chicken blacklisting feature. We had to delay the distribution of the Halloween hunt and marketplace beta test prizes. These will be distributed along with the Cut the Mustard event prizes, next week. Sorry for the delay. So,
remember back when early on, I think we had the idea to blacklist chickens, and everybody was like, "No, they can't do that. This is on the blockchain." Yada yada yada.
Yeah, well,
Like,
we might as well
they
touch on
just
it. Yeah,
blacklisted some
chicken.
chickens.
yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I hate chicken.
And they did a terms of service update, which is right there, which I'm sure Josh will get into. And I'm sure, as everyone knows at this point, GameStop got hacked. There were some birds that were sitting around. Most of the community was obliged and sold back and negotiated with GameStop. And we had one coop that didn't want to do it, and it caused a bit of an uproar, understandably so.
Yeah.
And yes, this is the wild west, and yes, we're seeing things like FTX destroy the crypto world. And we need to root this stuff out. It's that simple, and we can do that. It's our game. It's our community. We can kind of legislate in a lot of ways, and the devs listened very quickly. Created a setup where you can submit a ticket, and at any point you see something, if your chicken was stolen, they'll review it, go over it, they lock the chicken down. And actually, as I was told, 3 of the 4 chickens have been returned to GameStop, and I believe the last one's on its way once GameStop can do it. So the system did work. And I'm happy to see it, because it gives us a little bit more protection, and we need some protection in this space, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Right. So with that context, the terms of service have been updated to include a policy of not allowing a trade or use stolen items on our site. In addition to updating the terms of service, they've added a stolen items policy, which can be found there again in the development channel in Chicken Derby Discord. If you ever have a chicken stolen, please report it to either Deli or Erial as soon as possible to begin the procedure of having them blacklisted from use until you're able to recover. Wearables. Development of getting wearables working on your chickens is moving ahead. There isn't much to show yet, but we do have a peek at the UI. Pretty straightforward there. Getting your chicks dressed up.
It's cool though.
Some of these are going to look absolutely ridiculous.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna be awesome.
Yes.
It's such a simple thing, and it doesn't change the racing, but it changes everything.
Oh, it will change
We
the
wanted a
racing.
goofy game.
We wanted to go
Oh,
the
it
game,
will
yeah.
change the racing for
And
sure.
maybe we'll get into some goofier stuff with the Fusion coming up soon too. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
So, new menu will be added to the chicken details page named Wearables, which is where you'll equip your items. Beneath the image, it shows the name of the item, what set it belongs to, and how many you own and how many you have currently equipped to your chicken, which means I assume you can equip multiples regardless on top if you want to be that chicken that wears, I don't know. I'm curious if you can just stack like 8 sweaters on a chicken.
I mean, I think
It's
you'll be
just
able
layers.
to do like. I think there'd probably be one for every spot of the chicken you could put one.
Probably.
Hopefully,
right?
It might look a little ridiculous if
Like
you don't.
a hat, a necklace, a shirt, some shoes.
Although I would love to just give my chicken like all the chains and necklaces I possibly
Just
could.
click.
Just load it up.
Yeah,
And
I
it'd
put
still-
all
it'd still be
of the
fast.
all if they keep giving out tournament chains, I'd
Yeah.
put all my chains on my chooks.
just all
Well,
the chains.
All my chains. That needs to be a song.
Then you're gonna
Um,
look like you're like trying to stretch his neck out. It's so many. It's like so thick. It's like building up.
So, just click them and add them to your chicken fusion.
Fusion.
We discussed last week, and here we have some new information.
Before we get into this, are you gonna if you throw a fused birds in with their chains and stuff on, you lose them or like are you able like what happens with if you
Oh, with the
use-
I think it's probably a separate thing where you can just pull it out. Like it probably doesn't. I can't imagine like if you put. I'm guessing the way they do this is
but
like
what if you do?
if you put it on. If you put it on your chicken and then you sell your chicken, it doesn't sell with the chicken. You know what I mean? It probably stays.
I
with you,
figured it
so-
would.
Because wearables are separate NFTs.
Yeah. So
But
maybe
when
it's
they're-
But if
but
it's
when
if
they're
it's
one, are
technically
they one-
staked to the item, because I know
Yeah.
like Fancy Bears with their trait swap, when you stake the clothes to the bear, I mean,
Maybe
if
you
you
could, yeah.
sell it, it all goes.
maybe
It
it'll
would
have a feature
actually
where
be
you can do
cool if
that.
I could sell like my dressed up chicken to
Well,
try
yeah, it
to
would be
get
worth
a
more.
premium.
It would be worth a little bit more, I would say.
Well, you know, it's kind of like thinking, all right, people aren't so quick to buy just wearables. I mean, they might be, but if you're like, oh, this is a chicken with wearables, and you know that's kind of a cool thing there.
Yeah,
Like
You
a
know,
chicken with like
matching
a full
set of-
set. that-
yeah.
that drive a
And
premium.
obviously the staking is right there. The
What
possibility
if you
to do
fuse that full set chicken? That's what I want to. I'm curious. What happens?
it. Get fused eyes. It's just it's just the sunglasses on the eyes.
Instead of pupils, you have tuxedo pupils.
Oh no.
like-
Okay, well we're gonna get into that. That's for sure.
I need a rabbit
Alright.
hole animation. Dr. Droob's fusion machine is still in its blueprint phase. The ability to take 2 chickens and merge them into one opens a lot of potential for players and the game. You'll certainly see some new traits. It's a very, very strange word.
We were
there,
talking deeply
appearing
beforehand as
that
Josh was
won't be
setting up.
found on the original
what's new.
Spices. Yeah, what's new? So,
Mm.
do we want to pause there? Because I feel like,
We probably could. We probably
or
could.
do we,
There's a
well,
couple-
when fusing 2 chickens, each trait from the material chickens will have 50-50 chance of appearing on the new fused chicken. If chicken A has black hole and chicken B has teleport, the final chicken has a 50% chance of having either, one or the other, 50-50.
So not
So
to
where do the
not to
new-
do math on them, but this doesn't add up. If new traits are possible to appear, but
I
they
was-
have a 50-50 chance of getting their parents'
Yeah.
trait, 50-50 adds up to 100.
Yeah.
So we're already at 100%.
See,
Right,
this
so
all,
that's
this,
just gonna
this
bring that up.
plays
fit in.
this plays into where I was going before the show, where I said, does new traits mean just like different heritages of birds having traits that they didn't originally have? That other trait or that other birds have, like a Dorking running around with a teal
Mhm.
comb and wattle, or a black chicken with white
Well, this-
stripes from the Joker's Jade or something.
well, they do have it as on the chart here. They do it
Yeah.
as alpha, beta, gamma. Maybe the alpha traits are 50-50, and they will stick, and everything else might have a little bit of variance to
Well, they're
it because
saying, I mean, if chicken A has black hole and chicken B has teleport, then you're only going to get one or the other. It's not
Right.
going to get a new talent coming into that, according to that. But the top says new traits coming in.
yeah,
So
So T-Merc says
yeah,
bird law.
good.
thinks new traits means like a 1% random chance to land a new trait, but there again, that math don't add up.
That's
Yeah,
101.
we were also talking about like, is there a possibility?
Math.
Like, we were even trying to discuss through breeding of just like 100 Sarama plus 100 Sarama is not going to equal 100 Sarama every time. So, I think as they said, it's still in the blueprint phase. They're definitely still taking
Maybe.
suggestions. So, but 50-50
Maybe.
definitely doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get to lock in a trait, right? So as you're going to get to the next paragraph. So
Mhm.
Oh no, Tyler,
there's
say it.
what?
What do I have to say? Josh has the right math.
There you
Stop
go.
it, Wham! Get out of here. She's
That's
trying
not
to
Wham.
control the show again. We're not racing. Get
That's
out of
not
here.
Wham.
All right, move on. What were you saying?
So you're able to lock.
Oh,
So
it is.
the chart below is for the locked traits.
Right.
So let's not get that confused with the new traits. We were talking off air. I don't know if new traits means like a new Coleman Waddle color that we haven't seen before, or does it mean a completely new trait? Like we were talking about just what hypothetically the chicken's feet colors. That something is a brand new trait, right?
Well, it also brings up an interesting point. I know we were joking last week, kind of half joking about like the chaos factor and something like actually crazy popping up on foul language. It got brought up by Mr. Pete, and I know that he threw it out again. The idea to make these fused chickens be mutants, or at least have a chance to be a mutant and actually look kind of crazy. Aesthetically, it would certainly do something crazy for the game. Mutants are a thing in this space. I
like
think
a
there's
front
something
spur,
there.
like something that's off.
Something off, something
Or even just
completely off.
impossible color combinations.
Right. Yeah. You could, droop maybe. I don't want to do it. You could actually make them have like droopy eyes or like, worms hanging out of their beak or anything like that. Too crazy. Like the real mutants that we see in a lot of derivatives and whatnot. But I like that idea a lot. I think it's fun. We want a silly game. That's exactly the kind of thing that makes it a silly game. But yeah, 50-50 still doesn't work. So I'm still very curious to see
hope
how they'll be breaking that down for us.
my biggest curiosity still stems from how they're going to differentiate breeding from fusing and what's going to set those two apart. I think we kind of see a little bit here the ability to select and lock in traits is one thing that fusion is going to allow you to do.
Yeah,
that
paying
breeding
for
won't.
control. I think.
Well, Dave, you said
Right.
it last week. What was the two things you said? Whereas like breeding will be
Yeah, ideally, fusion is more expensive and more controllable, and
Mhm.
breeding is cheaper and more random.
But
I think that makes some sense
but
because we
when
were getting into breakdowns of lineage and how
Yeah.
deep a lineage goes, and can something random come from
Yeah.
breeding, even though these birds just
I-
kind of appeared. They don't have a lineage, they do, but not anything
I
deeper than
think-
just what they have.
Dave means more random in the sense that you can't select. So
Right, that's fair. Yeah,
I still think that we were talking about this off air too, that to me the idea of breeding means I should be able to look at a family tree and see the lineage down the line, knowing that its grandparents have black hole. I should have a chance, third generation, to slightly get black hole into that.
Yes,
but if it's random,
there's nothing you can
so
do to
random.
put your finger on the scale, right? To
Right.
say, I'm gonna get black hole.
all you can do is
Right.
breed again and hope. Yeah,
Exactly. But if it's
Yeah.
random and there's no black hole in that lineage and all of a sudden black hole randomly appears, I don't think that's the way to go about doing it. So I still think that the randomness factor is meaning from the fact that you cannot simply select what traits to lock in.
Yeah, it's got to be in their dinner. It's got to go into the mix. You can't just bring it out of nowhere. But I think fusion,
And
you're
maybe
paying to lock
fusion,
stuff in.
when it says see new traits, maybe that's what they mean by seeing new traits. So you fuse a teleport with a catapult, and all of a sudden you might have a chance to get a black hole.
So here's I got something for you. This could be a difference, and this is just me
But it's-
thinking. Hang on.
That middle paragraph throws me all off every time.
What if when you're breeding, your parents obviously have a preference for a talent, right? weapon talent or a magic talent or a what's the other one? Spirit and what's the other one?
There's weapon, technology, spirit,
tech.
And
tech was the last one.
And tech, yeah.
So what if when you breed your birds, you don't technically get the exact talent that your chicken had or between the two parents, but you get a lottery of their preference, of one of the two's preference. So you're not necessarily guaranteed to get, if the bird's a magic, but you don't know this unless you have the bird figured out, right? You don't know this if you haven't raced your bird, you haven't seen your bird run and perform. You don't know if the talent boosts like a monster would. Mm-hmm. So that's where but
I like that to a point. It makes it can't be that way.
But it could also still spit out one of the talents. That's the thing.
Right.
I'm just saying, like it could still throw it off that way. But like it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see if it took from the two pools.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe that's like that. It's like, okay, if you have a tech, and you have chicken pult, but maybe there's a possibility it can spit out jetpack. Mm-hmm. Not more than likely it'll be chicken pult or what the other chicken that you're breeding with is,
or like you have a growth bird and all of a sudden now you've got you spit out a cold snap or something like that, right? With that of those tiers. Mm-hmm. I think that would be really interesting, and that would differentiate very much so breeding from fusion, because fusion you're locking things in or a 50-50 chance, whereas in breeding you are breeding two birds that have two preferences and they each have a mix of like 4 to 5 talents that are going to pool out and up to like 8 or 10 combos that could spit out in that bird.
So how does it work with like base body comb and waddle in that scenario? I mean, is it going to just be a random one? Are these colors like mixed? Are we going to see new colors, or is it going to one parent's trait going to carry on? You see what I'm saying? I think however they're going to do that, they're also going to do talents along with that.
Sure.
Otherwise, I think it may be all heritage based. You might get a heritage based color.
But how would you introduce a new talent if two existing talents of chickens, you're breeding them? How do you throw in a new talent like that?
I don't think you throw in a new talent.
But they've said in the past that they have looked in or would like to eventually. I mean, you're eventually going to have to add new talents to the game because
I think you're getting new talents. Here's how you get a new talent. You got let's use this as an example. You got a black hole and a teleport. You got a catapult and a dig over here. Those two have a baby, and you get a black hole and a dig. End up, boom, boom. Those two end up breeding. You get a dig. But later on, you find out and you breed that down the road. Guess what? There's black hole in that lineage. So you're breeding that.
There's a possibility.
And now you've got the black hole.
Eventually. I'd like there to be a possibility in that.
So how do you get new traits into your coop is you breed them into it.
Well, this is touching on
successful breeding.
This is touching on what Crazy A just said with fusion. He said if you don't lock talents, I'm guessing it might be a total reroll. So I'm guessing how much. So we really don't know yet how much is going to be a reroll, and how just in general, how many of these things are going to have a reroll, or will it always have some type of lock from a predecessor? So
the middle paragraph
really says if you don't lock, you get a 50-50 chance. If you lock, then it's guaranteed.
So the way I'm reading that, if I fuse a 100 and a 90 without locking, I have a 50% chance of getting either of those two outcomes. I have a 0% chance of getting a different outcome.
Correct.
That's the way they've written the math.
Yeah.
They might change that math as they move forward, right? It might become 49 and 49 or something where they're like, chaos exists.
Well, Sydney says, am I crazy, or doesn't the blog say fused chickens will have 50-50? It does say that, but as we said earlier, the math doesn't quite match up if there's a possibility for new traits as well. So it seems like we need something. This seems like a really good base for it, and maybe that was just
even with locking it in doesn't equal 50-50. That's 100, right? So
you lock it in.
That's 100%. So at the end of the day, they need to. Yeah. rework the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that obviously was brought up before by several different people was just the worry of being able to lock something in that's very rare. And they did let us know, as it says here just below that, there will be a cost to lock in the traits. The
Makes
rarer
sense.
it is, the greater the cost.
Yeah.
So that's a big one too. But I do think they're certainly still in the work through feature here. But I would be curious to know a little bit more about new traits. We did discuss that a lot off air of like what is a new trait. I know they mentioned before about new talents. It's very easy to create a new talent that has the same core mechanism as Blue Rooster, and it's just a boost, and you're just kind of giving it a new look. That's an easy thing to do.
Read the last sentence one more time. You will certainly see some new traits appearing that won't be found on the original spicy chicken. So what that means to me, now that I'm rereading that, is these are going to be something that's completely new that we we currently do not see.
But it also could mean, like I said earlier, that it's traits that aren't on some original spicy chickens, right? Like teal candy waddles.
To me, that says the original. So any original spicy, there's going to be a trait that comes out.
Yeah. So is it new?
A unicorn horn or
entirely
whatever. I'm just throwing some shit out. I don't know.
Where was that line?
The top paragraph, the last.
But it can't be new if it's 50-50.
No. Yes, I agree.
That's why they're in the blueprint phase.
But what it is, if you gotta think here too, it may be something completely new. Like these are breaking down what was currently known.
Well,
if
like a striped black,
no,
or a robot that's not
both of
white.
those are known. Stripes are known. Black is known. Those are known. Both of those are found on current spicy chickens.
New traits appearing that won't be found on the original spicy chickens. Yeah, so that's flat out something.
It may be. I don't know.
Kind of contradicting there, but that's okay. I mean, I know that this is the reason these things get talked out. They probably have the thought in their head, but fusing them, material chickens will have 50-50 chance of appearing on the new fused chicken. And yeah, that's interesting. Okay, we're gonna need more information on that, and I know we're gonna get it. They're gonna give us.
We're only in blueprint phase.
Yeah, but all good points, all make a lot of sense. I think the community by and large is all about the idea of some type of like, interesting dice roll or mutant or variations. Like we all like it. We saw when this dropped, people were dropping like black chickens with green stripes and whatnot. See, I think Daniel dropped that in.
That's where I go. Is like that's where I see new traits on spicy chickens you haven't seen before. Where I feel like we'll get like the new stuff, Blake. Like you're thinking. I would think that would be something like with breeding. And again, like I go back to my thought I had earlier of possibly not passing the talent down, but the talent preference and pooling that would be an excellent way of adding new talents into chickens as well, because you could just add that talent to the pool of magic or weapon or tech, and then it all automatically gets added into the roll, and you could spit that out in breeding. This is fusion, though. This isn't breeding.
I know. No. I think that's what they're saying right here, though.
But I don't see how they could do that if it's 50-50.
Take that original paragraph out of it, though. I don't.
But you can't just pull a paragraph and write it how you want, read it how you want it. Like
I'm just saying.
It's like Josh,
nothing
let's go over
is
this again. 50 plus 50. Okay, try again. 50
my point is.
Good. You're good. Sorry.
I don't think they intended to make it 50-50. I think, like Dave said, it's probably going to be they're going to change that to 49.
I mean,
49.
they said it twice.
Or something,
Take that out for a second. Read what they say before that.
Right.
And that they're saying that they're not that there's going to be new stuff that won't be found on original spicy chickens. That has nothing to do with the 50-50 at this point.
So let's just leave it at this. Deli owes us a clarification on this one.
Because you know what? As much as we're saying this, they double down in the next line. If chicken A has black hole and chicken B has teleport,
change it to 49.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. Nor would I be mad if new stuff spit out from fusion or all this stuff. I'm Just going
I
off
know.
of-
I
Going
that's why
off
I
the
kept
numbers,
contradicting myself because of the
doing the
second
math.
paragraph. Yeah.
Math checks out.
Yeah,
when
I'm
it's
looking at
50-50,
I'm
we
looking
can
at
do that, man.
50-50 as like, you know, a coin flip-ish kind of thing. Like, you know, like Sid says, they don't want to give us the info because they don't exactly know yet themselves. Yeah, they're I think we're probably stuck on 50-50 way more than we should, but I understand it. That's why we talk these things out.
They know we're gonna overanalyze every word.
Yeah,
They're right.
I mean,
right?
yeah,
Like
you know,
we do it every
Words,
week.
We've
words
done that.
mean words, right?
And there's like 3 other shows that are also
Words are wind.
overanalyzing every word they write.
Right.
Anyways, so to move on, so users confused without fear, you will be able to lock some traits guaranteeing they appear on the final chicken, but the traits will be sorted into groups and only one trait from each group can be locked. This is still a work in progress, but here is the current plan for traits that you can lock and the group will belong to. So there's the alpha, beta, gamma. Looks like heritage, perfection, talent, stripes, beak accessory in the alpha group, and the base body color, base body, beak, comb and wattle, eyes and gender in the beta, and then the gamma is the preferences. So there will be a cost to lock the traits, and the rarer the trait, the greater the cost. We're implementing this feature so that users have some level of control over fusing their chickens, but without making it a build-a-bird mechanic. I like the idea of that.
I like all of it. I like the way they've grouped them. I like to talk about, you know, rarer costing more. All of that sounds right.
Yes, Wham.
There's a perception filter over your new name, Wham. We do not recognize James.
James.
Get here, Jimmy.
Big Jim. Sorry. Some questions.
Sorry.
This comes from
Keep going.
Sploosh. Holiday Coop. The last 2 events have seen a high amount of dorks at the top of the results and a low number of Saramas. Is this how you intended it? Follow up after the closed beta. You buffed dorks to be more competitive. Would you look to do something like this again to even out the heritages? And would you look to buff Saramas, maybe Sultans and Lax too, or would you nerf dorks?
Did they buff dorks?
I think they did say they had a little bit of a buff to dorks.
Something that explicit?
I think so. I gotta check back on that. I do remember they spoke about it. This was
nearly a
The
year
only thing
ago.
I remember is changing certain talents. I don't remember them buffing or changing any heritage.
I think there was something written about it. I think it may have been a slight thing they did when we came back. Jeez, I got to look back in it. It's
a
been
long
a minute
time
now.
back.
Yeah, but anyway, I do like the answer here, and I really like seeing those numbers.
So, yeah, they have currently no plans to apply any buffs, nerfs to any of the chickens based on their heritage. In regards to the number of Dorkings in the last 2 tournaments, remember that Dorkings are the most common chicken, so it isn't surprising to see more of them around. Looking at the 100 chickens that finished top 10 across all pecking orders over the last 2 tournaments, Oktoberfest and Halloween Hunt, the distribution is as so.
I like that they put these into percentages for us,
Right.
just in case you couldn't figure out that 18 out of 100 was.
Yes. Saramas, there's 18. Sultans, 13. Lax, 14. Dorks, 55. Yeah. The population within the game is as follows. Saramas, obviously we know. But the percentages are 6% for Saramas, 16.5% for Sultans, 33% for the Lax, and 44.5% for Dorkings. So, I mean, those numbers, the Lax are a little off.
Yeah, but,
Saramas
you know,
seem to be overrepresented.
Well, no,
according to this.
Here's the thing about the Saramas. These are 100 Saramas.
I kind of feel the same. I read these numbers and I'm just like, for some reason, this doesn't like. I don't know.
These are numbers that finished in the top 10.
I think you got to look
They
at
did.
like Coops though too, because
but also extract the 100 Saramas, and I'd like to see what this looks like again, because the 100 Saramas do what they do in S class, and they take over.
The
So-
point that I think they're trying to make though is that, as they were saying, they're saying that it was heavily weighted towards Dorkings. Well, yes, it is, because
There's so
Dorkings
many.
have the most population. Only 55, so they just performed a little bit over their normal population base.
But the
The Sar-
population is interesting, but I'd be more interested in what ran in the events.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So like he says, the next line: Saramas have 3 times the showing in the top 10 of these tournaments compared to their population within the game, so they are not underperforming. I disagree. Think you take S class out of that equation, just like Tyler said, completely. Because
we still have
you want to see the
community-
numbers drop significantly. There's
Yeah.
probably like 3. 3 Saramas in there.
Saramas are still the
out.
strangest little bird for this community because it's the one thing that the community keeps looking at and going, I know you're telling us Saramas are doing well, but
Is it
our
worth it?
Saramas are kind of telling us something else.
Yeah.
And the 100 Saramas are very much propping up everybody else. And it's I do believe that we're going to see a possible rebirth of Saramas with this new class system. I'm really, at least that might be more hopeful than anything.
What are the percent
yeah.
Well, like
of
how many?
Saramas that are B class and lower? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I bet.
I
bet there's yeah.
I would say it's safe to say that a large portion of the Saramas are in S and A class, right? And because of that, they're fighting against each other a lot of times. So their records are only going to be as good as who they're going against.
I think
if
you
they
have
were
to,
spread
and
out.
I'm agreeing with Wham in the chat here. You have to take it against
Uh-oh.
the number, the race. You can't take it off a total population. You have to take it off of the
it has to
total
be
amount
active.
of birds ran. Any birds that have ran a race, I'd say you could count them. Birds dormant in wallets, I don't think you can count them in this at all.
No, because they're not performing
No,
at all.
not at all. You have to take
Not as
birds that
intended,
have
not
raced.
otherwise.
I'm sorry, Wham broke me. James Flame says it needs to be it needs to be first the numbers running, and then he goes Whamola 17 says it needs to be first the numbers running. You broke me, you dick. It's true. I mean, oh,
He's right, but also shut up, Wham.
Yeah. But it's a good point. Crazy J says almost every 90 Sarama is in B. That's true. Besides my weirdo that likes to hang around C and D. I've got a couple
my
of
91 down there.
I have 2 91 Saramas in A that I'm just like, well, I don't know when I'm going to get them out of there. Like,
yeah, they're gonna suck. Because they're an A. If they
I've
were
got
an
I've got a
down
91
class.
moving walkway
C, they
Sarama
would be
just
great.
chilling in A class because I'm
Yeah.
like,
A. If
he
they
just
were in
gets
B and
9th.
C, that's
They're just the worst at downclassing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'd much rather race my Sultans.
because
The
they're
boys.
good.
Seasons help them downclass.
What's
Problem is they're too good in some instances, and they get stuck in those. Like I said, those 91s and 92s get stuck in A.
Oof.
Yeah, they don't have a big enough variance, so they don't suck often enough to downclass.
Right. I think people are asking them. They're saying they suck, but what they're really wanting is they want them to suck more.
Well,
When they
here's the
suck,
thing.
suck harder.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
this is actually
It's,
it.
it's
Like,
they're asking for the wrong thing though. They're not saying the devs are saying no, they're good. Look, here it is, and they're saying no, they're not good. But what they really should say is we want them to suck more. That's
Can
it.
you just buff my Sarama?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
but there is see, this is where I think it may fix up a little bit, and I don't want to jump directly into more seasonal talk yet. I will definitely get there in a minute, but the fact that the biggest problem we have with our Saramas is the downclassing problem, and they don't want to do that. So, hell, Alriad, I know he's half joking, but I know he's also not. He goes, I don't race my Saramas. They're collectible items because Saramas aren't trustworthy. And that is kind of the problem, is that they do kind of hang in that consistent zone, and that drives us nuts. But if we spread out the birds as they should be, and I'm hoping that's what maybe 4, 5, 6 season cycles does that. It starts to spread out the birds and represent them properly. Maybe then you will see the Saramas have their day again.
Well,
But
you
do
should.
think those
You should,
Saramas are
because
going to
here's
get
what's-
down?
What?
Well, I don't know if it's so
That's
much
the
the
only way
Saramas need
that-
to be down, but the other stuff needs to get the hell out of there.
Well, I was gonna say-
99
Then
like-
you're only still running against the best of the best. It's only going to make them worse. The more birds that you put that are better with them, the worse that those average Saramas are going to be.
Well, I'm
I
saying,
disagree
let's get the
because I
98
feel like-
blacks. Go ahead, Josh.
Right-
I know you
I
wanna get
feel
in.
like right now, with the amount of coops that are racing, that is part of the problem. because these birds are running against the same birds in the same races
and
over and over
Yep.
and over and over. And if these birds are consistent, hey, weird, they're probably going to end with the same consistent results if they're facing the same birds all the time.
And as I
So,
alluded to earlier, just having English
as-
mustards running or screwing everything up.
as
the
birds
littlest
start
change.
shifting around classes with seasons, and as I would hope more wallets start jumping into racing, I feel like maybe they'll start to balance themselves out and we'll start to see better performance out of them, possibly because they're actually facing birds that they're supposed to be facing and not racing against 96 through 98 in a class that they really don't belong in. I don't know.
And I think we all kind of have our own ideas of where we think certain birds should be based on what birds we own. So like where a 92 Sarama should be, for instance,
is profitable.
Right. But some people would say that should be in C. Some people would say that would be in B.
I think it's B, but I also think that 99 lax need to get the hell out of B. Like that's kind of the issue here.
There's 100 dorks creeping down into B now.
I know, yeah.
But
and there's more 100s in the dude. It wasn't often you saw too many 100s. It's outside of a few hundred dorkings in A class. Today, when I was going through races, there was 9 of 12 birds were 100s.
Yep. And it's really tough too because the data can really kick you in the teeth because I have an interesting case with a 90 fan group Sarama that is quite profitable and has some really good numbers on some select spots. And it kind of still drives me nuts because I'll put it in several races of what I think it's supposed to be. And I realize I get in there, I'm a 90 Sarama, and the next lowest perfection, this is B class, the next lowest perfection in there is 96 or 97. And I'm like, and then there's a couple 99s in there. And then it's like, oh, crap. Like, I probably am not winning this race. Like, I need a really, and that's usually what happens.
But
they don't do very well.
Do you think that's going to be different with seasons?
I do, and here's why. I think they're going to see those birds that should be shoved up slowly start to get shoved up.
But you don't think those 97s are going to be in B?
97,
some might, but not as many.
Right, and here's what it comes down to. They're still going to be in there. There's still going to be some, but when you look at the race, and like nobody else is running a 90 in this race besides me, so I'm an idiot for doing it. But I stare at the numbers and I go, but I'm good here. I have a 40% win rate. It's like, it doesn't really matter.
But against
what?
Sixth
place.
Against what?
From the last
Against
6-7
90
months.
Sarama is good. That's why it's in B.
It is, but it also can. It
all
also
about
can get
the
to A and then
birds
actually
in
get
the race.
Actually, go, Josh. What were you saying?
Well, it's all of. They've said this before. Deli has said this before. It matters what birds are in the race with your bird all the time.
Absolutely.
So when you start to see those, and listen, Alriad, I agree. 100 lack and B, I've seen it. Margarita, fucker. If you know
say
your
it
bird,
with your chest, Josh. He hates that.
there we
bird.
go. If you
Bro, margarita, bro, again, bro.
If you know your bird and spend money to declass them, more power to you. Not everyone agrees with this, of course. Listen, I agree. If it were my bird, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's get into every expensive race I can. But it's not my birds. I don't care. Personally, it's good on them for getting them down there. But it's not good for volume when you've got a new coop that comes in, or even avid users of racing that jump in and they want to get into a bigger money race, maybe not the 60 cent, but like $2 to $3, and it's filled with birds that can't compete with.
Well, on that note, and this is interesting, Whamola says, BAWK father has concerns of new birds being stuck in classes, and then birds that are placed placed in weird spots. Well, there was one interesting thing when BAWK was talking with Deli during the AMA game night. they talked for about 10 minutes, and BAWK put out a minimum pop and everything about that. Deli's biggest thing was there's more to this game than perfection, and perfection is a big part of it, but there's just too many other factors to limit it by perfection. And the other thing that I thought was excellent, and I really liked hearing this, was Deli said down the line when we have chickens running that are expansive across way more coops and way more avenues. He actually said they plan on having different leagues where there will be the two different sets of POs completely. So there'll
Based
be
on like the number of races ran.
no, they didn't say exactly what yet, and they didn't get into any details there. It was just that at some point there will be like a beginners league, and there will be S through D.
They should
of the
base that
beginners
off
league.
of the coops themselves. So
The only problem with doing that is then someone could. I thought about this.
So what?
Someone could make
let them.
no, because someone can make a brand new coop, send those birds there, and then they're back in the beginners league. So that's the problem. Like
let them, and then we'll find out who it is, and we'll blacklist their whole coop.
Yeah, but you can't
keep doing that.
I
mean, hey, it worked with one threat. I mean, why don't you just?
But
say,
that threat, that's
like
that. Like you're gonna lose.
That's
your whole
like
coop,
the greater
though.
good type of threat. This is like picking out.
But I love
saying drop the hammer on them.
But I love the idea. I totally get it, man. But I like the idea that they'll eventually have a beginners and then a tough. Yeah. So. And that's that. And we were always thinking.
So you do it by the chicken, you're saying?
Probably because Dave, we were talking about like how much can we cut classes? Can we keep making more? Well, they're effectively making 5 brand new classes, by just creating a whole new one.
But again, most of the problems we're experiencing probably come down to the volume of birds racing, and we're not getting a representative supply. And in a world where 33,000 chickens are having babies and racing, and we got more than enough birds to start splitting.
Yeah,
we're just a hell of a long way away from that world.
I'm not even sure the chat's like watching the show. I'm pretty sure Wham's just having a conversation with himself in the live chat while everyone else is talking about random things.
That's all right.
I'm just running my English mustards.
Wham, I love you, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, to keep this combo progressing, that was a rabbit hole as we tend to go down. Sultan slightly under, but given the sample size, this is within normal boundaries. The Lackenfelders are the ones with most significantly underperformed, but they are naturally more inconsistent, so are less reliable in tournaments compared to day-to-day racing. Interesting little take there from Mr. Deli. Less reliable.
Cold streaks don't exist.
Less reliable in tournaments.
Oh, something else that he said, and man, I gotta listen to these things again because he drops little things here and there.
Could you take notes?
I probably need to. It was brought up. I think Redhead brought it up because I know he's always been on this about boost, like food boosts.
Pay to win,
and that's been his problem. And understandably so, pay to win can be a huge issue. But what Deli said was, even the downclassing food isn't necessarily just a down. It's going to make them more inconsistent. That's all. Right. It's going to make them a more inconsistent bird, which also means it could give them a shot to actually win a race.
Throw up a banger instead.
Right. Mm-hmm. But and you know what? If you give your bird some food and you want them to downclass and they go ahead and win a race, at least they won. So I like that.
You buy more bundles of food and do it again, and there's your pay to do whatever you want. You just might have to pay a little bit more sometimes.
Right. And they're incremental little things. It's not like your bird's going to definitely get. That's the thing. They didn't have anything in there that was like attracted to a weapon, where it's like you're more likely to get hit by a weapon. It's like no, just inconsistency factor gets pumped up.
I'm cool with you paying to get a modicum more control over the situation, but that's not pay to win. Like that's not like, oh, I give my bird the best food, I win races, so I'll juice them up and hop in the high stakes.
I kind of look at it as like, sorry, go ahead to finish.
Yeah, it's just, if you can put a tiny bit more in your favor on the scale and you've got the money to do it, and then that puts more money into the ecosystem that other people can benefit from, I'm not opposed to that.
Mm-hmm. I see it like when you're a general manager for a baseball team, and I say baseball because baseball is one of the most ridiculous games on the planet in regards to trying to figure out the outcomes. And you can put the absolute best lineup out there, and they could lose in 3 games and they're out. But it's all about giving yourself. But you're still going to look at a GM and they're still going to say, "I need to give them the best chance." And I know that signing this player isn't going to lock in the playoffs for me, but it gives me that slightly higher incremental chance. And that's how I see all of this. You're not going to be able to just do it and jump through and you have it. But when it comes to I'm going to give my bird every chance it can, just based on those little incremental things that drop in there.
That's why the Yankees and Dodgers don't win every single year.
There will be things that we buy where people start bitching about, oh, this isn't working good enough, and so they want them to boost the corn that they're giving the chickens or whatever each item is. So
boost some corn, nerf some seeds, whatever.
Yeah, this is too strong. No. That's be ready.
They'll probably have to be tuning anyhow. That's normal.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Josh, get us back on track.
Bird Law.
Bird Law with a question. Are wearables exclusive to the events that have happened? As in, will the same wearables, superhero, ice cream cones, etc., ever be distributed again? Yes, they are limited and will never be distributed again. If you look on your My Wearables page, you'll see that each wearable has 2 numbers, available and maximum. Available is how many have been distributed so far, and maximum is the maximum amount that will ever be distributed. The giveaway ones with the blue background are yet to reach the maximum, so more of those will be sent out in the future, but those associated with the tournaments, such as Oktoberfest and Augustus Auger, are limited to that event, and there will be no more than what there is now. Should you want to get wearables from the past event, you'll need to trade with somebody. That is all for this week. Thank you for your time and love for this game, and have a great weekend. Happy racing.
Happy racing.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
a lot of stuff to unpack yet again.
Yep, it really is. We probably don't need to jump any deeper into Fusion. We need more info there. Interested, excited, no doubt. I know they're listening. We know they listen, and there's plenty of ways that people get their voices out there, and keep throwing in those questions to make sure as well. I'll be very curious to see exactly what happens with these damn Saramas with this new setup, and we've already kind of leaked into it a little bit, and that's what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping that we look at a 4 to 6 cycle setup with these new seasons, and then we have ourselves in a more not predictable but a more well-rounded setup as far as where we need to be going up and down, and
system
yeah. And with that idea, maybe we have, I like the first season's going to be a little bit shorter because they actually said that it's probably going to debut sometime in mid-December, so we're probably looking at like a 2-ish week first season. And I'd be curious if maybe they do that for a couple of the first seasons, just just to kind of reset that properly, because as far as I understand it, they are going to just have whatever your PO is when the season starts. That's where you're being slotted into.
Yeah, it'd be nice to rush through some of the balancing out the percentage of birds in the different classes. Just knock out a couple 2-week seasons before we go to 4-week seasons.
Because that seems to be the thing that people are kind of stuck on, is like, wow, a whole month there, and I shouldn't be there.
I think the first few should be a couple weeks, if I'm being honest. The first couple, 2, 3. Jumping from 2 weeks into a month right away, that first one of a month is going to be an eternity.
Right. So, I think the first 2 weeks are going to be fun. We'll see how that goes.
I think just with the amount of volume we have. Mm-hmm. Birds racing volume in play 2 weeks after we try out 2 weeks. Maybe I'll change my tune on that, but I feel like 2 weeks is about the right number. Yeah.
Yeah. So, feels good.
You can crank out hell with the 2-week event for the last tournament. I'm pretty sure I ran upwards of 200 races with Diablo. And that was in 2 weeks, so it's easy to do.
It's easy, sure.
Yeah.
Easy for us weirdos.
Really easy.
My most raced bird has 500 races, but it's easy.
Turn into a D-Gen, Dave. I think you need to hang out with Wham more.
He wants to bankroll
Slide
it,
into
I'll be
those
right there.
DMs. Take some.
I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Pete in the chat. He said, "This is Peter. It should be placed in the class you have raced the most in." I did ask that.
So
during the AMA, I asked.
I've got one thing on that
because Ross brought up the idea of possibly doing the average. Like, what is your average PO when you put everything together? And they see Deli said that they weren't considering it, but he did say at the very end, he kind of tailed off and he was like, but that is something, we're going to give a little bit of thought to. So I don't know if they're 100% stuck there, but I do kind of like the idea of it being maybe something a little more intuitive than just this, because once they tell us this thing's going to start, people are just going to go crazy downclassing, right?
Yeah, good luck. If everyone's trying to downclass,
it's gonna be a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
just tell me when it starts so I can try and get a little funds so that I can start.
I don't have a problem with the suggestion.
You could win some money there, yeah.
Like the class you've ran the most races in. My only problem with that is if you have a bird that's stuck. I mean, and if you're stuck there for the first season and potentially the second season, that's the only thing I have against. That would suck. That would really suck.
Yeah. But I have a couple stuck birds who have kind of just said, you know what, you're going to stay stuck until seasons because I think it might be easier to get down.
Possibly.
Once the season
and we'll
starts.
see. And we'll see.
I'm hoping.
I am too. That's
bite
my
me.
only argument against it is just like, man, it would really suck if you were locked into that class because you've ran the most races in that class and then you still can't get out of that class.
Stuck for months.
Yeah.
Because your bird doesn't belong in A.
Right.
But here's the thing. Maybe actually Pete just said that as well. Maybe it does belong there, but the other birds don't. And the Saramas
Potentially.
are more appropriately put in their classes because they don't down class as well. But the other things that have the volatility of flying up and down have that issue, and that's why we need to kind of sort this thing out a little bit. That's what I'm hoping we see, is that we just see the whole thing gets spread out the way it should be instead of there being this kind of clog. I actually had this interesting thought with Josh. I hate D class. I despise racing in D class. I don't do well. I have birds down there that have some pretty good win-loss records, but I still don't do well in D class. Well, no one tries to lose in D class. That's obvious. Every single person tries to win.
People try in D class. It's not just spamming races.
but C class, C class, I find a lot of these birds don't do so great in D. Then I get them to C and they do quite well
because people are trying to lose.
Right, they're trying to get down to D class. Mm-hmm. So if
it also just feels less chaotic.
Right, but so if we're eliminating that kind of insanity of just like trying to drop down, then maybe we can have something that's a little more pure. And that's what I'm kind of thinking. This could be a little more pure as we go. And yeah, it might get frustrating because now we don't know what we might actually have some people that think to themselves, wow, I don't know my bird at all. And yeah, it might be not a new discovery, but
Here's what I want to say, though, to the point about the Saramas. I think they're already in their spots. Most of them are already in S and A. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of change to the Saramas. I think a lot of the lacks, for instance, that are underperforming, I think those might start to perform better. The Sultans, those might perform a little bit better. But your Saramas, buddy, I'm just telling you guys, they're struggling. The ones that are struggling now are probably going to still struggle under the new system because they're already up in those higher tiers.
But for
how are you going to get them down?
That sounds
now
like
the quantity of birds gets wider as you get up, so it's going to get forced to ideally look like this eventually. So what's in A right now is just this, and hopefully it's going to become that, and it levels it out a little bit. That a few more birds that belong.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
A
Like
are
if
up
it's
there.
if
the Saramas are good, how are they going to fall to the B? Right?
They don't have to if A just gets to look like A is supposed to look.
I think you're just gonna get that stretching where those birds are no longer in there. I do think a lot of the Saramas are kind of where they should be, like you said, but I also think that there's tons of birds that shouldn't be around.
But those 96 and 97s that are in B right now, when those get pushed up to A, those 92 Saramas in A are now going to still go against those birds that are going to kick their ass either way. I mean, that's my point.
Then they'll be in the bottom 20% and go to the class below.
Maybe you'll have some. Yeah. I think that's going to be the key. If your bird falls in that lower 20, upper 20, every season, then you're going to have every other season be profitable.
Yeah. And just to stay on brand, most of us are going to lose money. It's a zero-sum game.
Right.
Or worse, actually, because there's a rake.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the thing too, is that I've kind of looked at it as like, yes, it will be frustrating to have a bird, especially your favorite bird, at some point possibly be stuck in a higher class that can't really do it. So, but it's a new game in my mind.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, now my game for this chicken this month is what's the lowest amount of money that I can spend to get this bird in the bottom 20 and get it out of there. So it's like, and then hopefully once they get back, then it's all on me to make sure I'm racing it properly and taking my shots when I can to try to make as much profit as I can in that class that it does well in. And then make a business decision again. If they're in the top 20%, do I want to try to down class and get them out of it? So for me, it gamifies this a lot more than just that, like every single race struggle.
No, I'm for it. But don't get me twisted. I like it. I just think for those that think it's going to be some miracle worker for their high-end birds, I'm not necessarily sold on that, but I love the idea of seasons. I think it's going to make everything more exciting for new people to get in and try their hand. So
yeah.
Josh kind of looks like Silent Bob tonight. Yeah, he does. Good call, Sambo.
It's not the first time I went into a pub. I went into an Irish pub to get some food one day, and I sat down at the bar, and two of the bartenders were like freaking out behind the bar, and one of them walked up to me, and they're like, "Are you Kevin Smith?" I'm like,
yes.
No.
Yes, I am.
Like, dude,
yes,
you look
indeed.
just like Kevin Smith. Do you ever get asked that? And I'm like, no, but I feel like everywhere I go, someone says I look like someone they know. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I have a normie face.
Or Kevin Smith face.
Or I look like Kevin Smith. A little bit. Maybe a little bit. Anyways, yeah, so again, lot to speculate on. Still another few weeks to go before we even get seasons, so we can have this argument again next week.
So go run your English mustards.
Yeah, run your English mustards. Couple days left on that, I believe. I think just under 2 days or a little over 2 days, one or the other.
119.
There we go.
Just under 2.
Yeah, we got some things we're working on regarding the 548. You'll be stay tuned to the announcements channel.
Yep, I haven't forgot about you. Of course not.
No, absolutely
we got
not.
some revamping we're thinking.
Yeah. But yeah, we got some stuff in the can. We're trying to hash out and get that out to you guys as soon as we can. I know we've been a little silent on that in the past, but I'm gonna work on that. And yeah, looking forward to the next event. Congratulations to Chicken Derby on passing $1 million and paid out prize money. That's a pretty big deal, if you ask me.
They pay some more of that to me.
Yeah, I'd take a little more of that.
You gotta race to win.
But
you gotta win to race.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Hopefully we get a little more details on some fusion, maybe a little more details on some seasons. And Marketplace is up and running, so list your chooks for a chance to win some of those prizes for that. And yeah,
there's also some cool things going on with like Ross and Whitebeak Gang and ABC. They put together some different games, some Run Chicken. Was it Run Chicken Run or like Flappy Bird kind of games? And Ross is doing a giveaway in regard
Ross's
to
birthday
the highest
tomorrow.
score.
He's got a stream.
Birthday
Birthday giveaway tomorrow, so make sure you check that out.
Yeah, check that out to get a chance
Ross
to
battle.
Get some giveaways on his stream tomorrow based on how well you did on Flappy Bird and the Chicken Run game. So give it a look. Community's always coming up with some fun shit for us to do.
No, wham, my computer's already pegging at like 30%, so it's already pissed at me.
Wham, I'm in all
Sorry,
the races.
bro.
Just come join me. C and D.
Anyways, folks, we'll see you next week. Yeah, have a good one. Good luck on the tracks. Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, I'm done. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Bye.